So, so before we actually start with the presentation schedule for today, if any of you has any queries to be clarified, we can discuss those queries. So, do you want to ask anything? Anything at all? Okay, then in that case, let me share the presentation for today. हाँ विशाल बोलिए। विशाल कुछ कहना है? Your voice is not audible. So I suppose whatsoever queries you are facing, you can write me in the WhatsApp group and then we can discuss that. But for the time being, let me proceed with the lecture supposed to be delivered today. Kindly unmute your mic. अपना mic बंद करिए.
हेलो सर. हेलो
हाँ हाँ विशाल बताइए.
सर. आपने जो सर फर्स्ट बाउंड्री कंडीशन लिया है ना सर.
हाँ
हाँ, मैं कल सर आपने जो प्रॉब्लम किया था वो सॉल्व किया, बट थोड़ी थोड़ी जगह पे मेरा सर प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है सर.
तो
सर
आप अपना
आपने जो सर बाउंड्री लिया है x इक्वल टू 1, तो सर u 1 इक्वल टू 2.
हाँ तो
तो सर वहाँ पर जो u का जो फंक्शन है, ये तो सर प्रॉब्लम तो सर डिफरेंशियल इक्वेशन के फॉर्म में है. तो
हाँ
सर वहां से हाँ, हम लोग तो वो इंटीग्रेट करके यू का एक फंक्शन निकालना पड़ेगा ना सर.
भाई u का फंक्शन ही तो निकाला जा रहा है. You are in infinite difference, let's say infinite element method, you first of
सर.
all assume that the u is given by a trial function. This is the first step from where you start. And then
अच्छा.
you try to improve upon the assumed polynomial. ठीक है. आप सबसे पहले एक polynomial से start करते हैं और फिर धीरे धीरे उसकी accuracy को increase करते हैं. And you are going to increase the accuracy till the accuracy is what you desire. धीरे धीरे आप accuracy को increase करते हैं और तब तक increase
अच्छा.
करते चले जाते हैं जब तक जो accuracy आप चाहते हैं वो नहीं मिल जाती आपको. So this is how you start. You always start with the assumed polynomial. And because this assumed polynomial is not the exact solution to the problem, because
अच्छा.
the assumed polynomial is not the exact solution
हाँ.
to the problem, obviously there is going to be some error. ठीक है.
अच्छा.
जब इस assumed
हाँ सर.
polynomial को differential equation में substitute करेंगे, that is going to give you some
अच्छा.
error. And
अरे हाँ
with
सर.
some weighted residual methods which we have discussed earlier, we try to
अच्छा.
minimize the error. The error is never going to be zero. The error is never going
अच्छा.
to be
अच्छा.
zero, because if the error is zero, basically we are going to get the exact solution itself. But there is going to
अच्छा.
be
हाँ.
a tolerable uh, extent of error which the finite element method is going to give you. So this is how you proceed. ठीक है.
अच्छा.
चलिए.
ठीक है.
Anything else? Okay, then in that case, let me start with the presentation for today. So we have discussed uh, three weighted residual methods in the previous class, and there are some similarities between these three methods. So we are discussing those similarities first before we proceed to the next method known as the Galerkin method. In all these three methods, that is the collocation, subdomain, and the least square method, this similarity is that you always start with a assumed polynomial. आप हमेशा एक assumed polynomial या एक ट्रायल फंक्शन से स्टार्ट करते हैं. Now this particular trial function is supposed to be solved for the two given boundary conditions. One of the boundary conditions which we have taken in the example yesterday happened to be the known value of u at x is equal to 1, and at the other point, that is the other end point of the domain, we assumed another boundary condition that is in terms of differential of u, also known as the flux. So these are the two boundary conditions which are supposed to be used for solving the problem. Now the next step in all these three methods. The next step in all these three methods is that the boundary condition is supposed to be substituted in the trial function. Trial function is also known as the assumed polynomial. So when you substitute the trial function, when you substitute the boundary condition in the trial function, because there are two boundary conditions, this gives you two constraint equations. क्योंकि आपके पास दो बाउंड्री कंडीशंस हैं और एक एक करके जब आप इन दोनों बाउंड्री कंडीशंस को ट्रायल फंक्शन में सब्स्टिट्यूट करेंगे तो आपके पास दो कंस्ट्रेंट इक्वेशंस आती हैं. Now, as if we assume that the trial function consists of four unknowns in terms of a1, a2, a3 and a4. अगर आप ये assume करते हैं कि ट्रायल फंक्शन जो एक पॉलिनोमियल भी है उसमें चार अननोन्स हैं a1, a2, a3 and a4, and since we have two constraint equations, with the help of these two constraints equation you can substitute these two constraints equation in the trial function itself, which is going to give you a modified form of the trial equation containing two unknowns now. अगर आप constraint equation को trial function में substitute करते हैं तो क्योंकि आपके पास दो constraint equations हैं और trial function में चार unknowns थे, तो when you substitute the constraint equations in the trial function, the modified form of the trial function is going to contain only two unknowns now. And let these two unknowns now be represented as a1 and a2. क्योंकि आपके पास दो ही unknowns हैं, दो ही unknowns अब बचे हैं. So let's assume that these two unknowns are named as a1 and a2. और ये जो तीन मेथड्स इस समय डिस्प्ले पर हैं, that is the collocation, subdomain and residual and least square. All these three methods basically evaluate the value of a1 and a2 while minimizing the residual. ये तीनों ही मेथड a1 और a2 को a1 और a2 की वैल्यू निकालते हैं और साथ साथ ही रेसिडुअल को भी मिनिमाइज करते हैं. This is how these three methods are going to work. Now, comparing this particular approach with the Galerkin approach. Galerkin approach इस तरह से काम नहीं करता है. Galerkin approach में भी you start with a assumed polynomial. Okay, you start with a assumed polynomial, but as we have done in these three methods, assumed polynomial लेने के बाद हमारे पास constraint equations आती हैं. लेकिन गलाकिन मेथड में हमारे पास constraint equation नहीं आएंगी. We are going to substitute the assumed polynomial in the differential equation itself, which is going to give you a residual equation. This is one difference between the three methods on display and the Galerkin method. ये पहला difference है. The other difference is that as we have discussed yesterday, the standard approach in Galerkin method is that the second order term is going to be reduced to a equivalent first order term with the help of a technique known as integration by parts. Integration by parts obviously is a technique which you have already studied in your BTech classes. So we are going to revise integration by parts also. So with the help of integration by parts, you are going to reduce the second order term to a equivalent first order term. And while this particular reduction is taking place, two new terms are going to be generated. ठीक है, जब आप सेकेंड ऑर्डर टर्म को एक इक्विवेलेंट फर्स्ट ऑर्डर टर्म में रिप्लेस करेंगे या रिड्यूस करेंगे, दिस इज गोइंग टू गिव यू two new terms. One of the term is going to be the first order differential of the unknown parameter. एक term जो आपके पास आएगी, that is going to be du by dx. So du by dx basically is the first order differential of u, and u obviously is the unknown parameter. This is the first term which you are going to get. And the second term which you are going to get is the value of flux, that is du by dx, which is supposed to be evaluated at the boundaries of the domain. तो ये दो terms आपके पास यहाँ पे आती हैं, ठीक है? And once we actually reduce the second order term to the equivalent first order term, how things are going to be managed, this is going to be clear. So since we have already discussed the collocation, subdomain, and the least square method in the earlier classes, that is yesterday, we move forward to the uh, Galerkin method now. So we start from this point. In the following slides, the implementation of the Galerkin method will be illustrated in detail along with the standard step of reduction of second order term with the help of integration by parts approach. Kindly remember that we have done the Galerkin approach yesterday also. In Galerkin approach, the standard method is that you multiply the residual with the trial function itself. You multiply the residual with the trial function itself, and this is going to be integrated over the domain. So depending upon the unknowns in your trial function, you are going to have that much shape functions also जो कि multiply होते हैं. This we have done already in the previous class. So I suppose you can refer back to your lecture notes of yesterday's to go through it, to revise it. But today we are going to reduce the second order term to an equivalent first order term. So for this explanation, we are going to use the same problem which we have used for the earlier methods, so that we can compare the solutions with the four methods which we are going to uh, do in the present session. We are taking, I'm just revising the example once again. There is a one dimension domain. The endpoints are XA and XB. The governing equation is a second order governing equation on display. It is from x is equal to 1 to x is equal to 2. That means that the length of the governing equation happens to be 1 unit. Please note that if this particular governing equation was applied to some other domain starting from x is equal to 0 to x is equal to 1, that is, if we simply change the domain location, we are not changing the governing equation, we are changing the domain position. Still, we are going to get the same solution for u. What I want to say, what I want to say is that the solution to the problem is not dependent upon domain. ठीक है, जो प्रॉब्लम का जो सॉल्यूशन है वो डोमेन डिपेंडेंट नहीं है. So instead of taking the domain from x is equal to 1 to x is equal to 2, I could have very well taken the location of the domain to be at some other point, supposing from x is equal to 10 to x is equal to 11. Still, I'm going to end up with the same solution of u. This you should remember. Then there are two sets of boundary condition in terms of the known value of u and the known value of flux, which is applied at x is equal to 1 and x is equal to 2. Now kindly note one more thing कि ये बाउंड्री कंडीशंस हैं. बाउंड्री कंडीशन का मतलब ये नहीं है कि ये टर्म्स डोमेन की बाउंड्री में लगाई जाएंगी. ठीक है, ये दो इक्वेशन जो इस समय डिस्प्ले पर हैं, ये दोनों टर्म्स बाउंड्री कंडीशंस हैं. बाउंड्री कंडीशन का मतलब ये नहीं है कि ये दोनों कंडीशंस डोमेन की बाउंड्री में लगाई जाएं. फॉर एग्जांपल, these मतलब I could have given you a known value of u at x is equal to 1.1, that is somewhere inside the domain, and I could have given you the second boundary condition at some other point, let's say x is equal to 1.6. Both these 2 points, that is x is equal to 1 where the value of u is given, and x is equal to 1.6 where the value of du by dx is given, are located inside the domain. And for this also I can solve the I can get the unknown parameter, that is u. तो बाउंड्री कंडीशन का मतलब ये नहीं है कि यू आर स्पेसिफाइंग द बाउंड्री कंडीशंस एट द बाउंड्री ऑफ द डोमेन. It can be, they can be prescribed inside the domain also. So this is one point which you should remember. Now for the trial function, uh, if you subtract the left and the right hand side of the governing equation, अगर governing equation के left और right hand side को अगर आप subtract करते हैं, तो obviously you get the residual equation. And since the exact solution u is being approximated by a polynomial given by u bar, the moment you substitute u bar in the governing equation, it is going to give you a residual which is not going to be equal to 0. The residual is going to be equal to 0 only if you substitute the exact value in the residual equation. But for any other assumed polynomial which represents the unknown parameter, the residual is not going to be equal to 0. And this residual, of course, is one thing which you are trying to minimize. Every numerical method basically aims to minimize the residual. It does not makes the residual 0, but it basically aims to minimize the residual to a accuracy level of your requirement. कोई भी न्यूमेरिकल मेथड रेसिडुअल को 0 नहीं बनाता है, लेकिन रेसिडुअल को कम से कम करता चला जाता है until it gives you a solution which you desire. For example, if you are solving uh, this particular equation, इसी equation को अगर आप एक rocketry system के लिए solve कर रहे हैं, तो obviously there you will desire that the residual should be very low compared to a case of, let's say, a simple chimney, जो कि भट्टे होते हैं, हम हरियाणा में तो भट्टे कहा जाता है, जहाँ पे ईंटें बनती हैं, ब्रिक क्लिन, तो वहां पे चिमनीज होती हैं और उन चिमनीज को भी कूल किया जाता है. तो if this particular equation is used to solve the temperature in a fin outside the chimney, so obviously the residual need not be such a small value as we had in case of a rocketry system. So depending upon the application, the value of residual is going to it can be very less also, or it could be a significant figure also. Now moving to the next slide. In Gallakin approach, for each A are the unknowns. For each A, we need a weighted average of residual over the entire domain to be 0. This is what you need. The weights are the functions associated with A itself. This we had done yesterday, so we need not explain this again. Supposing the trial function is equation number 1, the residual is given by equation number 2. So we are multiplying the residual with phi I in equation number 2. The residual is what we had on the display in the previous slide. I suppose here the residual is. That is the second last equation. So this residual is going to be multiplied by phi I over here, where I is going to vary from 1 to 2, 3, 4. It is going to vary from 1 to n, depending upon the number of unknowns in the trial function. Now, in equation number 1, kindly notice that each unknown A, in equation number 1, each unknown A is also associated with a phi. तो जितने A unknowns हैं, उतने ही आपके पास phi की values भी हैं. So once you multiply the residual with a phi I, you get a equation. And if the value of I, phi I में जो I है, it varies from 1 to n, this is going to give you n simultaneous equations which are supposed to be solved together to get the value of A1, A2 and so on. So this is the general approach of the Gallakin method. So I have just, in equation number 3, I have just substituted the value of residual which was on display in the previous slide. So this is one of the equation. In fact, it is the ith equation. That is equation number 3 at the moment on display. This is equation number 3 once again. Now kindly notice that in this particular equation number 3, there is a second term on the left of the equality sign, which is 2 divided by x square. So this particular term is a known quantity, of course. It is known quantity because it contains only x, so it is a known quantity. This can be transferred to the right of the equality sign, and on the left we are going to have only the unknown quantity represented by u. So in equation number 4, we have transferred the known parameters on the right and the unknown parameters are on the left. Also notice that in the left and in the right, there are expressions of phi I which are present. So this is the ith equation. The value of I is going to vary from 1 to n to give you n simultaneous equations. So in Galerkin approach, the standard step is to reduce the highest order, which is 2 in this case, because the unknown parameter u is being differentiated twice. So the standard approach is to reduce the highest order, which in this case is 2. The reduction takes place using integration by parts approach. The term on the right does not undergoes any change. The next slide explains the concept of integration by parts. So we start with the integration by part approach. So supposing you have two functions a and b, and both are functions of x. In this particular slide on display, the variables a and b have nothing to do with the variables described in the previous slides. ठीक है, इस स्लाइड में जो a और b वेरिएबल्स लिए गए हैं उनका पिछले स्लाइड से कोई भी मतलब नहीं है. So kindly do not confuse them. So let there be two functions a and b. Both are functions of x. So we simply multiply a and b together. Of course, a and b when multiplied together gives you can give you another function. So, but intentionally, for the time being, I am intentionally keeping these two functions in a multiplication form. I am not replacing the product of a and b with another function. So we have two functions a and b. They have been multiplied together. And the next step is we take their differentiation. So as a result, we get equation number 2. Now in the next step, we are going to integrate equation number 2. So this is what we get. We have an integration on the left also, we have an integration on the right also, and in both the integrations there happens to be a limit from xa to xb. That is, the integration has been done over the size of the domain itself. So in the left hand side, because we have a function ab which has been differentiated first and then it has been integrated again, the net result is going to be ab itself. So we have ab on the left hand side, which is going to be evaluated at 2 points given by xb and xa, and the values at xb and xa, they are supposed to be subtracted. So this is what we get on the left hand side. This is equation number 4. And in equation number 5, we simply uh, adjust the terms. We take adjust the terms as have been given in the equation number 5. So this equation number 5 has been obtained by the approach known as integration by parts. And in the next slide, we are going to use equation number 5 to reduce the second order differential in the residual equation which we have developed in the previous slides. आगे वाली स्लाइड में इक्वेशन नंबर 5 की हेल्प से हम रेसिडुअल इक्वेशन के सेकंड ऑर्डर टर्म को रिड्यूस करेंगे. So we have equation number 5 on display, that is in yellow color, and this happens to be equation number 2 happens to be the residual equation. Now if you compare equation number 1 with equation number 2, we basically are comparing the terms which are present on the left hand side of the equality sign. हम equation number 1 और equation number 2 के जो left hand side की terms हैं उनको आपस में compare कर रहे हैं. So what you can notice is that there happens to be that in equation number 1 there is a term A which has been differentiated. So similarly in equation number 2 there is a term x into du by dx which has been differentiated. So I assume that A becomes x multiplied by du by dx. Similarly, in equation number 1, there is a term B which is not being differentiated. And in equation number 2, there is a term phi I which is not being differentiated. So when you compare equation number 1 with equation number 2, A becomes x into du by dx, while B becomes phi I. Now for these values of A and B, I'm going to substitute these two values of A and B in the right hand side of equation number 1, which obviously is going to be equal to right hand side of equation number 2. ठीक है, A और B की इस वैल्यू को मैं इक्वेशन नंबर 1 में सब्स्टिट्यूट करूंगा, which is going to be equal to the right hand side of equation number 2 also. So this is how I do it. This is the left hand side. This is the left hand side of equation number 2 also. And for the known values of A and B, it is the left hand side of equation number 1 also. ठीक है, ये equation number 1 और equation number 2 दोनों का ही left hand side का portion है. Now coming to the remaining terms of equation number 1. So I have A and B over here giving you this expression, x into du by dx multiplied by phi I to be evaluated at xb and xa, और फिर उसका subtraction होगा. Coming to the second term in equation number 1, तो a और db by dx को यहाँ लिखा जाएगा, which gives you x multiplied by du by dx multiplied by d phi I by dx and integration of the whole term. This obviously is equal to the right hand side of the second equation. Okay, I suppose these steps, because they were done yesterday also, though there were some problems of connectivity. This we had covered yesterday also. So in the next slide, we are going to equate the expression which has been encircled in a single equation. So I suppose the derivation is clear. So this is uh, the equations in the which have been developed in the previous slide. Just a moment, huh? एक मिनट रुको जरा सा. Hmm. Two benefits can be seen by integration by parts. The first benefit is that the highest order of derivative in the resulting equation is not 2, it is only 1, simply because there is no term of u being differentiated twice. There is only one term of du by dx. So this is one advantage. Now अब ये जो line display पे आई है, the line is as a result a linear approximation of u can be used. इसका मतलब अभी आप लोगों को समझ में नहीं आना चाहिए. अगर आ रहा है तो it's a very good thing. But for the time being, let's just skip this particular point. This is going to be discussed later on also. Now the other thing should be clear, that is a boundary term is created. Now boundary term is a term given by x into du by dx multiplied by phi I to be evaluated at xa and xb. The term x into du by dx at phi I, this is not supposed to be integrated. It has to be evaluated at xb and xa. Therefore, this is a boundary term. And this particular boundary term is appearing simply because we have reduced the second order differential to a equivalent first order differential. As a result, the second order differential terms gets it gets disappeared, resulting in a first order differential term and a boundary term. The other advantage is the stiffness matrix is symmetrical. This of course is not going to be evident over here, but is one of the things which we are going to talk in quite some detail in the future classes. So we are in this particular expression equating the two terms. We are keeping the known values on the right hand side and we are keeping the unknown values on the left hand side. On the left hand side, there is a term u which has to be integrated over the domain. So since u is not known, it has been kept on the left. But on the right hand side, there is a term x into du by dx into phi I. This has to be evaluated at xb and xa. And please notice that x into du by dx is a term which has been prescribed as a boundary term. Starting में हमने दो boundary terms ली थी. One is in terms of u and the other is in the terms of x into du by dx. That is prescribed at x is equal to xb. So this is one value which we know. और इस equation में भी right hand side में x into du by dx की value xb पर हमें पता है, लेकिन xa पर हमें नहीं पता है. ठीक है, xb पर हमें पता है because we have assumed this particular value as a known value. लेकिन this particular term x into du by dx xa पर हमें नहीं पता है. So on the right hand side we have a term which is not known and the other term is 2 divided by x square phi I. This is a known quantity जो कि right hand side में substitute करी गई है. So comparing the terms which are present on the right hand side, there are three terms. One term is x into du by dx into phi I evaluated at xb. This is a known term क्योंकि phi I की वैल्यू भी हमें पता है. The second term is x into du by dx into phi I to be evaluated at xa. ये term हमें पता नहीं है. And the third term, that is 2 divided by x square into phi I, जिसका इंटीग्रेशन लिया जा रहा है. This term is also a known quantity. So on the right, we have two terms which are known and we have one term which is not known. So obviously this means that the equations cannot be solved. We cannot solve the equation unless we know all the terms in the right hand side. But still we are proceeding with the derivation. So in this particular slide, we are simply substituting the trial function in equation. So what we get is this expression. So we are simply substituting the trial function in the reduced form. We are substituting the trial function in the left hand side, but right hand side mein we are not making any substitution. So this is what we get. And in the next slide, we are going to expand this. This is the equation which we had in the previous slide. So when you expand this particular term, we get this equation. So kindly compare these equations, and if you find any error, so kindly let me know. The first term on the right, on the left, contains d phi naught by dx multiplied by d phi naught by multiplied by d phi I by dx. The second term contains a1 multiplied by d phi 1 by dx multiplied by d phi I by dx. And the third contains a0, a2 multiplied by d phi 2 by dx multiplied by d phi I by dx till n terms. So this is what you get when you substitute the trial function in the reduced form of the governing equation. Now, in the equation on display, the terms such as a1, a2, which obviously are the unknown terms, they appear in the equation. But there is a first term on the left which does not contains any a. So that term obviously is a known quantity. The term which I am talking about is d phi naught multiplied by d phi I by dx. This is a known quantity. And this is one term which we can transfer to the right hand side of the equality sign. So in the next slide, we are simply going to transfer this term to the right to get the resulting expression. So on the left, we have terms which are multiplied by phi I, phi 1, a1, a2, etc. But on the left, on the right, we have the remaining terms. In the next slide, we will obtain n equations for I is equal to 1 to n. The n simultaneous equations with n unknowns in terms of a1, a2, etc. are solved with popular numerical methods such as the Gauss elimination. So for I is equal to 1, we get this equation for I equal to 2, and for I to be equal to n, we have this equation. So the equations have been obtained for three values of I, that is I is equal to 1, I is equal to 2, and I is equal to 3, I is equal to n. And in the next equation, we are going to substitute, we are going to represent these equations in a matrix form, because in finite element method, we always are talking of equations in terms of matrix, because primarily because plenty of numerical routines are available which deal with matrices. So we are primarily going to arrange all these equations in a matrix form, that is this equation. So in this equation we have three matrices, that is a first matrix on the left, which is of size n by n. This obviously is a square matrix. This matrix is known as the stiffness matrix. It contains all the differentials of phi. The second matrix on the left is a column matrix containing the unknowns given by A1, A2, etc. And the third matrix is the matrix on the right of the equality sign. It also is a column matrix of size one column and n rows. The other thing which you must visualize over here is that the stiffness matrix K, which is the matrix on the left, it is a square matrix, of course, but it is also a symmetric matrix. That is, the two terms which are equal have been indicated by a yellow color. The two terms are they are present in the first row, second column, and in the second row, first column. These two terms are equal. Similarly, these two terms, first row, nth column, and the nth row, first column, these two terms are also equal. Similarly, the third example is second row, nth column, and the nth row, second column. These two terms are also equal. So the stiffness matrix which we get is basically a square matrix, of course, but it is also a symmetric matrix. And symmetry has plenty of advantages, which we are going to discuss in the future classes. And mm, and uh, it has advantages to the extent that we have some specialized softwares available taking advantage of the symmetry to solve these equations. Symmetry का इतना बड़ा इस्तेमाल किया जाता है कि बहुत सारे specialized routines have been developed to solve these equations using the help of symmetry. Of course, these equations can be solved with the help of Gauss elimination also, but Gauss elimination is not a very efficient method for solving the for solving these numerical equations. We have some specialized softwares, specialized numerical routines, which take advantage of the symmetry, which is evident over here. The other thing is this force matrix, which is the third matrix, that is the matrix on the right, that is of size one column and n rows. And symbolically, these equations are simply represented as k into x is equal to f, where k is the square matrix of size n by n, x is a matrix of unknowns, and f is the force matrix, uh, which is known obviously. And symbolically, these equations are just represented in a symbolical form. K ij is equal to, given by this expression on the display, you simply substitute a appropriate value of I and j, and you are going to get the value, the stiffness value in the stiffness matrix, corresponding stiffness value in the stiffness matrix. And similarly, Fi is also the equation on display, and this is these are the terms in symbolical forms. And the last slide for today's lecture, this is on display now. This is where we have expanded the boundary terms in terms of 2 points xa and xb. Out of these two terms, the term to be evaluated at xb, that obviously is a known quantity, but the term to be evaluated at xa, that is a unknown quantity. And these terms are better known as flux. It will enable us to apply the second boundary condition easily. तो गैलाकिन मेथड में बाउंड्री टर्म को इस जगह सब्स्टिट्यूट किया जाता है. But in the other three methods, such as the collocation, subdomain, and the least square method, we actually got a constraint equation. लेकिन यहाँ पर बाउंड्री कंडीशन को इन इक्वेशन में सिंपली सब्स्टिट्यूट कर दिया जाता है, जिसका मतलब है हमें कोई कंस्ट्रेंट इक्वेशन नहीं मिलता है, हम सीधा बाउंड्री कंडीशन को यहाँ पर सब्स्टिट्यूट करते हैं. Okay, that this is all for this lecture. We will meet again at 10:40 to complete this particular topic. Okay, then that's it. Thank you.